Good morning. This paper presents the results of a research project started in 2012 and aimed at the study, refinement, and monitoring of wet cleaning and enzymatic treatments by means of gellan rigid gels applied on works of art on paper. The partner of this research, still in progress, are the Institute for the Conservation and Preservation of Archival and Library Material of Rome, where in 2003 the gel and gel technique started to be studied and used for the first time, and the Department of Chemical Sciences and Technologies of Tor Vergata University of Rome. In collaboration with Tor Vergata, for the first time, we tuned the preparation of both amylolytic and proteolytic enzymatic gels to be used in conservation. Furthermore, 2 years ago, our research partner developed a real-time monitoring system that allows conservators a constant checking of the treatment progress. All these subjects will be explained showing you their application during the wet conservation treatments performed on a Diana Scultori's burin engraving entitled The Wedding of Cupid and Psyche. Diana learned the art of engraving from her father, Giovanni Battista Gysi, working on the drawings of Giulio Romano. The burin engraving was realized by Diana Scultori in 1575, but printed later in 1613, 1 year after her death. As you can see, also in these details, her work is clearly inspired by the drawing of Giulio Romano for Palazzo Te in Mantua. The print consists of 3 handmade papers, horizontally assembled, and it showed dark stains on the verso. Between the 16th and the 18th century, the work was already restored with an overall application of a paper baking aimed at hiding the dark stains of the verso, reinforce its structure, repair the tears, and fill in paper losses. The baking applied on the verso was also used in the missing area as a support of chromatic reintegration with China ink. Structural surface deformation, such as creases and microcorrugations, were really evident on both paper support and on the baking underneath. These problems were probably caused by the presence of this additional support, whose coefficient of expansion and contraction was slightly different than that of the original paper. The print showed also an uneven yellowing due to cellulose oxidation, quite likely promoted by the natural aging of the adhesive used for the baking. It was therefore necessary to detach the baking. So a series of analyses were carried out to identify the nature of the adhesive used to ensure its adhesion on the verso. The results of optical microscopy, fluorescamine test, a compound that reacts with amino groups in proteins, Lugel's reagent, able to reveal the presence of starch compounds, and finally, FTIR analysis, lead to the identification of an adhesive mix containing both starch paste and animal glue. The use of an adhesive mix intrinsically unstable was probably one of the main causes of cellulose oxidation, leading to an increase of carbonyl and carboxyl groups content, which provoked surface yellowing of the paper support and a general loss of structural strength. The current slide summarizes the cleaning and the baking removal interventions. As you can see, after the dry cleaning phase, we tested ink's solubility and stability before proceeding with wet treatments. China ink, used in a previous chromatic reintegration of losses repairs, was clearly sensitive to water, so we fixed it with Fluoline HY, a fluorinated elastomer, before wet treatments. In both the subsequent steps, consisting of a wet cleaning treatment of the rector, followed by the enzymatic treatments, we used the gel-and-gel technique, especially developed to preserve the original features of work of art on paper, coupling with a new electrochemical monitoring system conceived to check treatment's progress and their end. In the following slide, we will focus our attention mainly on the third and fourth steps. As we wished to preserve all the morphological and optical characteristics of this print, we decided to use the gel method conceived by our conservation department using gel and gel. The gelling agent is a microbial azopolysaccharide that gives rigid, homogeneous, and transparent gels, starting with a water solution of calcium acetate. Calcium acetate gives the right quantity of calcium ions needed to stabilize gel structure. In this way, it's possible to obtain a rigid gel at the end of the sol-gel transition process. Gel and gel allows a constant and controlled release of water onto the paper, so minimizing the effects of excessive cellulose swelling, ensuring the maintenance of its original morphological characteristics. The exchange mechanism established between the paper and the gel during treatment allows for an effective removal of surface deposits and acidic degradation byproducts from within the paper structure. The physical phenomenon which takes place at contact time can be primarily described as a process of diffusion between the gel and the paper. At the beginning, water, released from the gel thanks to syneresis, penetrates in the paper, where it can solubilize an unwanted degradation substances, exactly as it happens during a washing treatment by immersion in water. At this point, the concentrated solution of these products spreads from the paper to the gel because of the concentration gradient. Gel and gel can in fact perform a kind of cleaning similar to traditional washing, with the advantage of optimizing the solvent power of water, that it is transferred onto the paper support very gradually, uniformly, and at a lesser extent compared to traditional washing techniques. Therefore, we decided to remove the backing, which was one of the most important phases of the intervention. We did it after the application of 2 enzymatic gels and with the help of the innovative monitoring technique already used during the first wet cleaning treatment. High-performance liquid chromatography analysis was conducted to identify the removal efficacy of organic acids out of the paper cellulose after 1 hour contact with gel and gel. The analysis was carried out on the gel and gel used for the first cleaning treatment. Several pieces of gel and gel, 1 centimeter for 1 centimeter, were treated with 2 millimeters of distilled water. The solution extracted from gel was analyzed through solid phase extraction, selective for acid compounds. In this way, only the acid compounds present on the artwork and removed by gel were analyzed. The graph shows the presence of different acid compounds as a result of cellulose degradation, induced by spontaneous phenomena, by fungi attack, and by the oxidation of the adhesive used for the backing. Before describing this phase, I briefly illustrate the preparation of the enzymatic gels. To facilitate the removal of the adhesive, consisting of a mix of starch paste and animal glue, 2 different enzymes have been selected: an alpha amylase capable of catalyzing the hydrolysis of alpha-glucosidic linkages in polysaccharides like starches, and the serine protease with a broad substrate specificity, the proteinase K. Both of them are very stable at high temperatures and over a broad pH range. Thanks to their high temperature stability, it was possible to add both enzymes directly in the hydrated gellan gel after the heating process during its cooling phase. After having prepared a buffer solution of calcium chloride, we added to it the selected enzyme, obtaining a concentrated enzymatic solution. Then, the concentrated enzymatic solution was added to the gellan gel during its cooling phase at about 60 Celsius degree, because both enzymes proved to be very much resistant also to high temperatures. This means that at the end of the sol-gel transition phase, the enzymes are evenly distributed in the gel matrix. The cleaning process has been monitored in real time, directly on the treated surface by a flow sampling system assembled with the gel and connected to specially designed sensors. This tool allows a real-time detection of the progress of the cleaning procedure, and simultaneously it can perform a screening of the state of degradation of the paper support with the identification and quantification, when it is possible, of the cellulose degradation by products or pollutants removed by gel. This is an important tool for conservators who can finally verify the degradation condition of the paper artworks and the efficiency of the wet treatment. The whole system combines a gel as screening agent with a biosensor specific for degradation products. This tool is composed by a flow sampling plate designed ad hoc and characterized by a perspex plate with a 12 channels serpentine. It is conceived to be placed in direct contact with the gellan gel during a wet treatment, as you can see on the layout application in the slide. The function of this plate is to pick up pollution and degradation by products called material, removed from the paper by the gel during its application, through the continuous flow of a buffer solution running into the 12 channels serpentine engraved on its surface. In other words, pollutants and degradation by products absorbed by the gel at the contact surface with the paper, thanks to capillarity, tends to cross gel thickness, reaching the opposite side of the gel, which is in contact with the flow sampling plate. The collected solution is dragged inside a thin layer cell in line with the plate, where a selective electrochemical biosensor is present. The solution is analyzed in function of a specific analyte, obtaining a current signal in function of the time, proportional with the amount of the extracted materials. Between the sampling system and the biosensor, there is a two-way system. While the first allows to check the removal of cellulose degradation products, the second enables us to monitor the starch-based depolymerization by products as a result of the enzymatic action promoted by the gel. It's possible to switch from via 1 to via 2 and vice versa by means of a simple system of taps. The electrochemical technique used to check and monitor the cleaning process was amperometry, that gives a current signal in function of the time as soon as an analyte electrically charged is present, applying a fixed potential. The selected cellulose degradation product to be monitored was glucose, because it is the final product of cellulose hydrolysis, but also the final product of the enzymatic hydrolysis of starch paste. The characteristics and the sensitivity of the glucose biosensor, based on the immobilization of the glucose oxidase enzyme on a screen-printed electrode, are well known, and the reaction is reported in the slide. The production of hydrogen peroxide at the end of the last reaction was detected amperometrically using a screen-printed electrode modified with a Prussian blue and used at an applied potential of minus 50 millivolt. By immobilizing the glucose oxidase enzyme on the working electrode area, a glucose biosensor was assembled and utilized for the detection of glucose. The monitoring of the lining removal from graphic artwork was based on 3 enzymatic reaction steps showed in the slide. In particular, the bioreactor was a handmade cylindrical reactor in plexiglass in which an ABC immunodyne membrane was inserted. The membrane has an immobilization surface of 300 square centimeters, where the glucosidase was immobilized in order to hydrolyze oligosaccharide produced by alpha amylase in glucose, the substrate of the biosensor used in this work. The cleaning and the removal of lining processes were monitored for about 1 hour. The results show that the cleaning procedures were carried out successfully through the removal of glucose as cellulose degradation byproduct and as the degradation byproduct of the adhesive hydrolysis catalyzed by the enzymatic gel when it was applied on the paper and the solution conveyed in the via too. The results show that it is possible to quantify the glucose detected. It means that this system can also indicate the degradation level of the paper, confirming the effectiveness of the treatment while still in progress. The second phase of the wet treatment included the structural cleaning of the artwork carried out with capillary washing through a draining fabric. The wet treatments performed on the artwork removed most of the surface deposits and those hydrosoluble organic components produced by cellulose depolymerization that, if left in the fibrous structure, could be harmful for its future conservation. The pH level gained after all these treatments reached neutrality and precluded the need for a deacidification. Nonetheless, we decided to perform a chemical stabilization with a reductive bleaching treatment, spraying on alcoholic solution of borane tert-butylamine complex. The treatment allows us to counteract the risk of further oxidation due to the presence of insoluble chemical species still present in the paper and produced by oxidative degradation. Then, following complete drying, the work was consolidated and retouched. Here you can see the engraving before and after treatment. After the conservation treatment, the paper gained a good level of physical and mechanical strength. Therefore, it was not necessary to apply once again a backing on the verso, avoiding the risk of future damages eventually caused by the adhesion of a backing as reported before conservation. The Wedding of Cupid and Psyche by Scultori regained its original aesthetic qualities. Wet treatments, supported by an innovative, a highly specialized diagnostic tool, coupled with the gel-on-gel method, was able to preserve most of the morphological and typical features of the work of art on paper. The new monitoring system can be safely and simply used to check the progress of a wet cleaning and enzymatic intervention with alpha amylase, and finally provide a useful tool able to assess the actual conclusion of such treatments. Thank you for your attention.